Live from the Pines, episode 74, coming at you live straight out of East Texas. Tonight we welcome Dave Campbell football, Matt Stepp. How you doing, Coach Matt?
Good, man.
Coach Matt.
That's all right. I've been called a lot worse.
It's just a habit now.
Yeah. I've been called a lot worse. I'm doing good. Just enjoying a couple of weeks of downtime between state 7-on-7 and coaching school, and just it's good. Life is good. No complaints, and it's hot outside, but that's July in Texas, right?
Yeah, no doubt. It's scorching hot. I was telling somebody earlier, I was sitting at the office working and talking to somebody in McKinney, and they were like, "Is it raining there?" And I'm like, "No." I just got back from lunch about 30 minutes ago, and it was sunshines and everything. And I turn around and look out my windows in my office, and it's pouring down rain. I'm like, yeah, it actually is raining. It's crazy how the weather works in East Texas, when Texas in general in the summertime.
Yeah, that humidity in the piney woods gets turned up just a little bit, though. It gets sticky and uncomfortable out there. So, but I love East Texas. I enjoy. I have some personal ties to East Texas, so love East Texas and love East Texas football. And so it's been we were talking off air. It's been too long. I need to get back to Lufkin, America.
Yeah, we need you to make a trip to Abe, and hopefully next time you make it down here, we have a new stadium.
Hey, if you get a new stadium, you'll get Matt Stepp in the house for sure. The two things that'll get Matt Stepp in the house is a Saturday game and a new stadium. So
what about a new press box and good press box food?
I'll take that too. We'll make it happen. So it's been a while. I've been too long. So I've been to Longview, go to Tyler a lot. Lufkin's a little harder to get to, but the football is just as good.
Yeah. People don't realize this, and you've had a chance to be all over the world actually. But Texas, there's nothing like Texas high school football.
No. Texas high school football is. I mean, I have a home in Canada. I have played, a lot of friends up there, and when they find out that I cover Texas, I mean, I have friends up there who have subscribed to Texan Live to watch Texas high school football games, and they will watch. They'll almost like how like with soccer, I adopted an English Premier League team. I've never been to England. I don't. And I just adopted a team and followed them. I have people in Canada who've adopted some of the they're North Crowley fans, and they're Alito fans, and they're Atascocita fans through Texan Live. So it's pretty cool.
Basically, like watching the SEC play.
Yeah, for them, they think the level of high school football here is incredible. So it's like they'll watch college football on Saturday, they'll watch high school football Friday night. So it's pretty cool.
Is there any competitive football in Canada, like high school level?
There is, there's also a lot of club football, like a lot of club teams they play, but the schools do have teams. Their season is a little bit shorter because they don't, Canada, they don't start school until after Labor Day, and then it gets really cold. So they have to really kind of condense. I think their regular season is like 6 or 7 games, and they kind of go into their playoffs, like their provincial playoffs or whatever. It's not, I've seen a couple of games, been up there, when I go up there for holidays, and there's some good individual players, but the level of coaching and everything that goes along, it's nothing compared to Texas high school football. It's
like when I was talking to Eli, I think I said this in yesterday's show, like him and his dad both coach in Michigan, and it's like those guys, like they have day jobs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like they have a full day job, then they go coach.
Yeah. The schemes and the levels of preparation that you see in Texas and the level of coaching is second to none. I mean, it's the best in the world. And these guys that do this, that's why you've seen so many guys that have jumped from Texas high school football into the college ranks, because they'll tell you on a week-to-week basis, the schemes in college are not that much different. The players are different, obviously, but the schemes and things like that are not that much different. So the level of scouting. Yeah, Jeff Traylor, Joey McGuire.
Yeah.
Those are the two biggest things. There's a litany of assistants out there that have.
Todd Dodge did it.
Yeah, Emmett Jones at OU right now. He was a head coach for a long time in Texas at South Oak Cliff, and was an assistant under Reggie Samples. He's done great things at the college level. There's, so many guys out there. A lot of them are in personnel. Marco Regalado down at UTRGV now. Guys. Marvin Nash out of Ole Miss. There's so many guys that have Texas high school football ties that have moved into the college ranks and are doing great things. So a lot of great coaching in Texas, and that's one. The talent is obviously Texas high school football is the whole package, from the level of coaching to the level of play to the atmosphere the facilities, everything that you put into it. It just that's why Texas high school football. So there's not one thing that makes Texas high school football. It's the combination of things that makes it great.
It's a 365-day job.
It is. Yeah, we try to cover it as best we can at Dave Campbell's. We're starting to dip our toe into other sports as well, but football will always be our main thing because football. There's we got when the season ends, you got this year is a realignment year, so we'll be January and February talking realignment, and then right into coaching changes, and then spring ball 7-on-7, and the next thing you know, coaching school's here, and
it's time to play football.
Yeah, so it's. My wife tells me all the time, is football season ever over with? And I'm like, no, honey, it's not. So
Stepp, you talk a little bit about, we talk football. We know you as Matt Stepp, Dade Campbell football. But there is a day job in front of the Dade Campbell football. Talk about what you do.
Yeah, so I work in the financial industry. I've been with the company I've been with for 20 years. I work in fraud. So I have a day job in fraud. And when I'm at work, I do my day job, and then, sometimes I know what's going to happen. Sometimes you'll see tweets from me like during the middle of the day. Usually it's because I know about something ahead of time and I've scheduled it out. Coach will tell me, hey, this is going to happen at 2:00. And so I'll schedule it out for 2:00 and have my story written and that kind of thing. So, I try to, it's sometimes when news breaks and I'm at work, I can't really do anything until I get off work. And so I'm hoping that the news doesn't break. It's like I can break it when I get off work as soon as the time clock is over with, and sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, it's there's some balance in there. But I'm fortunate that I've got a job that gives me some flexibility. I work early hours, so I can get off work and go to games in time. I've been there 20 years, so it's a lot. It's good, but it's time management is key, and being organized is key. And so I think coaches would, the coaches that listen to this watch and listen to this podcast probably understand that managing your time is key. It's the same thing in my career at my day job. Got to have good time management skills, and then when I'm doing Dave Campbell stuff after work, got to have time management to do that because I still have a wife and children, and have to try to be a good husband and not have my wife, murder me.
So your journey to Texas, how did that happen? Like, how did Matt Stepp find Texas? How did you end up in Texas? How did that all play out for you?
Well, I'm born and bred Texan. I mean, I'm from Fort Worth. Went to Everman High School. I actually didn't play football in high school. I played basketball and baseball. But I've always been I was one of those kids who would open the newspaper up and go straight to the high school sports, as a kid, and loved high school because, I grew up, not very, I won't say we were poor, but we weren't we didn't have a lot of discretionary income, and so going to a high school football game was kind of my Super Bowl. Like we couldn't go to watch the Cowboys. We couldn't go watch TCU, even though TCU was terrible back then. They weren't, we couldn't go to a TCU game, so the Everman Bulldogs were my team on Friday night. That was the game I got to go to. My dad was thrifty, so we'd sit out in the dirt road behind the stadium and wait till halftime, and the ticket takers would go in, and then we'd go in at halftime, and that kind of thing. So I always loved high school football. Yeah, always loved high school football. It's always my thing, and so just kind of grew into it. So, but I have ties to Canada. My wife's Canadian, and that kind of thing. But I'm born and bred Texan. Been here, most of my life, other than time in Canada, here, for 6 months at a time or whatever. But I've always had a residence here in Texas.
So your wife is still in Canada.
Yeah, so we're very blessed. My wife has a really good job up there. I have 2 really good jobs here, so we are able. I'm not a dual citizen, but I have residency, permanent. Basically their version of a green card, and so I go back and forth. We have a home up there, and so I fly a lot, and I'll go up there after coaching school and be up there for about 6 weeks, actually about 5 weeks before the season starts. And so I usually go up there for a couple of weeks at a time and then come back here for a couple of weeks and just kind of back and forth. So
how do you manage that with your day job?
Work remotely or drive to Buffalo. We have an office in Buffalo that I can drive to, and I'll work in Buffalo sometimes and work remotely from there, that kind of thing. So luckily I have some flexibility where I can work remotely. And so
yeah, that goes a long way.
Yeah. So, we Buffalo's about an hour drive away from where I live in Canada. So I'll go to Buffalo, New York and work work from there occasionally and kind of do that.
That's great. So how did you find like your calling for Dave Campbell and like Texas high school football? Where I know you grew up a big fan of your alma mater and all that, but how did you find like your calling with Dave Campbell?
So really, originally, I went to school. I wanted to be a coach. Like that's what I thought I wanted to do. And when I did my like student teaching and didn't really like being in the classroom, just really wasn't for me. And I knew that if I wasn't going to enjoy being a teacher, that coaching in Texas probably wasn't something for me. So I started doing some other things, got into the financial industry and started doing that. But I still wanted to be around. I still go to games on Friday nights all the time. I'd go to the random Thursday night game in the Metroplex, that kind of thing. And this is early 2000s, so Twitter and Facebook weren't really a thing. Message boards were the thing. And so I'd start posting on message boards, or a lot of high school football message boards out there. And a guy I would kind of type out, somebody would say, "Hey, what do you think of this game?" And I would type out a whole like paragraph of what I thought about the game and what I knew about the teams. And I'd have
ChatGPT.
No, off the dome. And so a guy who ran a Texas high school football website on Rivals.com at the time, it was called Texas Prep Extra. His name was Alan Zapata. He saw my posts on the forum and was like, "Hey, kind of, I've seen your stuff, and a lot of times you're right, and you seem to have some good insight. If you want to, write for us," he's like, "I can't pay you, but I can give you a media pass. You can get into games for free." And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And so started doing that, and I worked with Matt Diggs. We worked together for a long time, and over time, it kind of first couple of years I worked for free, and then I started getting like $100 a month for gas, and it just kind of grew, and eventually moved on to Old Coach, and kind of did the same thing at Old Coach, and just continued to build, my brand personally and build relationships. And like this business, journalism, writing, it's just like any other business. It's all about relationships. And so as I built relationships with coaches by going to a lot of games and going to things, because coaches are, to me, they, you can be an internet guy and post on Twitter and do all this. And coaches will they'll fool with you a little bit, but they're not going to really like give you any insight or really tell you anything of substance unless they get to know you as a person. And they got to meet you in person. They got to shake your hand, size you up as a man, and see, if you're someone that they can vibe with. And so that's what I started doing. I started going to games. I'd go to games Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I still do. I'd go to 7-on-7s. I'd go to spring practices, whatever I needed to do, coaching clinics, and just meet people and shake their hand and oh yeah, I know who you are. And over time, coaches began to trust me with information, trust me that I was going to do right by them when it came to breaking news and handling coaching changes. Understanding I have a job to do, but understanding also that they're still working with kids and there's a way to handle those kind of things, and just being kind of a man of my word, and following through with what I'm going to say. Over time, coaches began to trust me, and then coaches talk. Hey, that Stepp guy, he's all right. You could trust him. Stepp's good people, that type of thing, and over time, it just kind of built, and I think I did a good job with kind of my personal brand, and it kind of grew, and eventually, Dave Campbell's, Tepper and at the time Max Thompson reached out to me, I guess in 2016. And offered me a job, and it was a dream come true. I mean, I've always, wanted to work for Dave Campbell's, and actually, me and Tepper actually interviewed for the same position at one time back in 2010, I think. But it would have been too big of a pay cut for me because I'm double dipping over here. I got the day job and the Dave Campbell's thing, so I couldn't do just the Dave Campbell's thing at the time. And so, Tepper's now Tepper's my boss, and so it's great. So yeah, it's a dream come true working for Dave Campbell's and getting to, tell the stories of Texas high school football and the kids and the coaches and the communities that make it so great.
That's great. And like you say, it's a commitment. Like one thing I've learned since I've started doing this podcast is, when a coach is ready to, like, when he gives you the gun and he's like, let's make it happen. And we agree on a date, no matter what, you got to make that happen. And it's like you might have a long day at work, want to go home and do nothing. But, if you want to get somewhere in the Texas high school football world, you have to be consistent.
Yep.
And you got to realize that you're on their schedule, even though it's your show. You know, these guys are taking the time out of their day, they've been at the school mostly all day, spending time, you know, with their team and all that. Then they get home and they want to spend time with their families more than likely. So when you get that hour or so of fame, you gotta go with it and you got to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's just about keeping commitments and following through. But I think those skills translate into any career. You know, in your career, in your profession, you know, if you're going to commit to something, it better be a dang good excuse why you can't do it. You know, if you're going to break the commitment. So I try to make those things rare, if ever. And so it's hard. It's not easy, but nothing in life that's worth having is easy. So it is. You got to be consistent. You got to be on it, and that's, for me, that means I got to go to, during the season. I'm tired. I'm going to 3-4 games a week. I'm working 50 hours at my day job. I'm putting in 30 hours prep work, getting ready for the week's games. I'm writing articles and I'm watching, I'm going back on Texan Live and NFHS and watching games and doing state rankings and texting coaches and, but it's just being consistent and it's just being available. And I think that's in any career, it's any profession, it serves you well, but definitely in this profession, it serves you well to be consistent and to be.
It's part of the grind.
Yeah. And it is a grind, but it's also super rewarding. I mean, when I'm sitting there at a game and I'm like, they're paying me to watch this freaking football game. I can't believe how lucky I am. And so those are the moments that are awesome. Coaching school is coming up in a couple of weeks, and that's among the most fun 3 days that I have every year. I'm tired afterwards. I've shaken a million hands and bro hugged hundreds of coaches, and I'm probably, I gotta bring my airborne and vitamin C because you're just dealing with so many people. But it's so rewarding, and then the career coaches really appreciate what you do because these guys aren't apt to hand out a lot of compliments or to pat you on the back. The expectation is to do a good job, and so, I'm from the school that, that if I'm doing a good job, I'm not going to hear from you very much. And so to hear someone take the time out of their busy schedule, say, hey man, I really appreciate what you do, or you do a hell of a job, means a lot to me. So, it's a rewarding experience. And so there's, with any job, there's not, it's not all good, there's bad days, but I think the good more than outweigh the bad. And I've just been blessed to be able to do this for now. I mean, I'm going on, probably in a real writer role, almost 20 years of covering Texas high school football. And I've seen a lot of football games, been to a lot of stadiums. I think I'm going to hit 300 stadiums this year. Seen almost 800 or 900 teams in person now. And so I'm probably up there. And there's a Guinness Book of World Records for the guy who's been to the most Texas high school football stadiums. I might be at the top of the list. So it's a lot of fun. I've gotten to see games in every corner of the state, from Brownsville to Amarillo to Beaumont.
Have you made it to Canadian yet?
I've never been. Canadian's a place I would love to go to. It looks beautiful. I've heard Canadian's a beautiful little town too. It's a neat little place. So
every year when I'm in Arlington and like they post a map of like this team came this far, this team came this far, it blows my mind away how far they have to travel. It's another school out there that travels a long way. They're the Zebras.
Well, there's Grandview, the Zebras, but they're closer to Grandview's right off 35, just south of Fort Worth.
Who am I thinking of? It's a smaller school, but they might be just as far as Canadian or farther away. I can't think of it.
I know Stratford is pretty far up there too. Stratford's pretty far up in the Panhandle, so yeah, it's been.
Well, that's like we were in Tyler like 4 weeks ago.
Taladura was out there.
Yeah, I was like, that blew my mind.
Yeah, so it's, there's a lot of stadiums I haven't been to that I would like to get to, and hopefully one day I can make it there. I try to get to a couple of different stadiums every year and try to see. I've never been to the Puncher Dome, and the Puncher Dome is one that when they fix it, they put that roof back on. I'm going to Mason to go to the Puncher Dome for sure. That's one. Tepper doesn't have you beat on a lot of stadiums, but Tepper's been to a game with the Puncher Dome, and I haven't. I need to remedy that.
When you make that happen, let me know, and I'm gonna try to make that trip.
Yeah, the Puncher Dome is kind of one of those bucket list stadiums you got to get to.
That's great. I see my guy RT's watch. I want to give him a shout out for connecting us. That was huge from him getting me in touch with you to make that happen. This might be one of the most exciting shows I've been, waiting for. Getting to sit down and talk to somebody that knows ball, especially Texas high school football like you do.
Appreciate it. Now, RT, Ralph's good people. Got to know him. I think I interviewed him at coaching school maybe a week after he got hired at Yates, and we had a tech issue, and the interview got lost forever because we had a mic issue, and we had a rookie running the board and so I had to. Tepper gave him a pretty good ripping. He ripped his butt pretty good afterwards. We lost about 20 interviews, and RT's was one of those interviews. So I told him I'd make it up to him, and so I think I made it up. I think I went to a Yates game that year. It was Yates and Wheatley, a big rivalry in H-Town, third ward versus the fifth ward. And I told Ralph I would. Actually, the funny thing is 2 Lufkin alums were coaching in that game too, because McFarland at Wheatley is a Lufkin guy too. And so they beat Wheatley, and so I interviewed RT after the game, and so I made it up to him. And then I interviewed him, I think, this year at the East Texas Coaches Clinic out there in Longview. So super fired up for RT to get the Mesquite job, and proud to call him a friend. And any friend of RT is a friend of mine.
That's huge. And I thank you for doing that for me, man. That's huge. Got to talk to you about something. Realignment.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming up. We all, everybody's talking about it.
Oh, yeah. Coaches love to talk realignment. That's one thing. You can get some coaches to text you, and my phone in October and then in February blows up because coaches think I have some inside scoop, and I'm just like you, Coach. I'm just guessing. I don't have I don't have access to the UIL's realignment room. I've never been let in there. Dr. Bryduck would never let me in there. That's one thing they keep a very closely guarded secret on at the UIL. And now they do admit they will read my projections, and I have been told I do a pretty good job on the projections, but I'm just guessing like everybody else. I try to just use common sense and logic, and with realignment, you have to understand that Texas is a big state, and they got to draw a line somewhere. And sometimes you're on the right side of that line, and sometimes you're on the wrong side of that line. And what you just hope is that you're on the right side more than the wrong side. But somebody's ox is going to get gored every 2 years at realignment. And that's just the way it is. And they can't make everybody happy. And so you just got to hope you're not unhappy very often.
So, you look back 2 years ago for Lufkin, we were on the wrong side of the line. They had us
for a little while, for about a month. About 2 weeks. About 2 weeks, y'all were on the wrong side of the line.
We got on the ball and got it taken care of. But I don't know if it's too early for you to say, or you don't want to say it yet, but where do you see Lufkin going?
So I remember the day that Lufkin got realigned to 7.5 AD1, and I was like, this is going to get overturned. It just didn't. Didn't make any sense. So I think I would be very surprised. I mean, obviously, and I haven't sat down and done a mock yet. I will in October probably. But I would be very surprised just knowing the landscape in 5A Division I. I feel like Lufkin's probably pretty locked into 5A Division I. I don't think they're going to 6A, and I don't think they're dropping to 5A Division II. So you look at 5A Division I, and it's really hard to there's Lufkin and Tyler. Longview's probably going to stay 6A, most likely, I would imagine. And so it's just Lufkin and Tyler out there. So it's like you can't have a 2-team district. So it's like, what do you do at this point? And I think it just makes more sense to send Lufkin south. Humble, the Beaumont area is not that. It's probably an easier drive from Lufkin than it is to go into the Metroplex. You could always play Tyler in non-district. I think y'all are playing Tyler in non-district. So
play John
it just makes more sense to me to send him south. Yeah. I'll sometimes let it slip and say John Tyler. I know Blaylock said I still call it John Tyler. So
yeah,
I let it slip sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I just think it makes sense to send. I think Lufkin's going to be in a very similar alignment to what they're in now. Now,
so do you think
you could clip that? And I could be totally wrong, but that's my guess.
I'll make sure I do clip that. Do you think there's a chance that you see football kind of doing what baseball, basketball are doing?
So there was talk of it. From what I understand, the UIL said at that, and we're actually going to confirm that at coaching school. The UIL doesn't have a lot of press conferences. The one press conference they have every year is at coaching school, and you can, if you're in the media, you can ask. Now I won't be able to attend it. I'm actually kind of disappointed I can't attend the press conference this year because we're going to be doing a live show during the press conference. But I've got our young intrepid reporter Carter Yates. I've already fed him a list of questions to ask the UIL, and one of those questions is to confirm: is the pre-district split going to remain in 5A through 2A, or are you going to go to a setup like baseball, basketball, the other sports? I've been told through multiple sources that the split's going to remain in football, but we'll need to confirm that. That's what I've heard. My guess, if I was a betting man, I would bet that it's going to stay the way it is.
You know how beneficial that would be for some schools?
Oh, it would benefit a lot of schools. It would benefit. I think Lufkin would benefit greatly from it because the travel would be. You could stay in East Texas. You could have an East Texas 5A district.
You get Marshall.
Yeah.
You get Marshall. You get John Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
You would get Nacogdoches,
mm-hmm.
Jacksonville, Hallsville.
Yeah, Texas High. Texas High's a long way, but
they're in our district now for the non-football sports.
Yeah, just go up 59, right? Just head up 59.
So that would be really good for us.
Lufkin would benefit greatly from it. Now, a school like Jacksonville, probably not, or a school like Hallsville, probably not, right? So the small 5As don't want it. The big 5As are like, yeah, bring it on. Let's go back together again. The small 5As are like, heck no, let's stay split. So everybody's looking out for their own interests. And the UIL, they have a tough job. They have to try to make it work for what's best for the majority of schools. You're never going to make everybody happy. So you got what's the way that I can, for lack of a better term, screw over the least number of schools possible? Because somebody's going to get the bad end of the stick, and it's just the way it is. So,
and like you say, it's probably not going to happen.
I don't think so. I think we're gonna, not in football. I think we're gonna stay with the pre-split. So I think we'll have Division I, Division II districts in 2026, 2027 is my guess.
If you had to zero yourself in on one school other than your alma mater, who would be Matt Stepp's school of choice, 5A, 6A?
As far as like a fan?
Yes.
Oh, that's a great question. Wow.
Matter of fact, I can't leave the small schools out. We got to go 3A up.
I'll take the very political answer here. Not political. I'm not like Tepper, where I hate your favorite team. Tepper says he hates your favorite team. I'll make it easy. I follow two schools other than my own pretty closely, and that's my daughter's alma mater, which is Fossil Ridge and Keller. And then my wife's alma mater. My wife is a Canadian, but she actually graduated from a Texas high school. So I follow Abilene High. So those are probably, because of my family ties to those two schools, I probably follow them.
That's probably the
on
smart
my
answer.
Scores app. Yeah, on my Scores app, I have the
that's probably
schools.
Your smart answer by saying those two schools, because I'm sure you would have a lot of text messages. Hey, did you hear that Stepp's not a fan of such and such?
Exactly.
He likes such and such and such.
Yeah. So I have a coach down in the Rio Grande Valley, Coach Manny Gomez at Harlingen. Harlingen is like 8-0. I've been to like 8 Harlingen games over my journalism career. Somehow I've ended up at 8 games for Harlingen, and they're 8-0. They've never lost when I show up. And he's like, I'm going to talk to my booster club president and just fly you down to every game. And I'm like, come on, coach. I don't mind a free trip to the Rio Grande Valley. Love the food down there.
Like 3 or 4 weeks ago on a hunting trip, and we were starving. We went fishing one evening in Port Mansfield.
Yeah.
And we were asking the guides and all the locals where to eat at, and they tell us to go to this restaurant. And it's like inside of a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's this little Mexican joint inside of a neighborhood, and it was probably some of the best barbacoa.
Oh yeah,
I've ever had in my life.
Like if you eat a bad meal in the Rio Grande Valley, it's your fault.
I got a taco we were like, we got to try the barbacoa. We got a taco to go with our main dish, and the taco was probably this big. It's like,
I took my cousin down there, and it's very similar. They asked him if he wanted to. He ordered a bonus taco on the side, and they asked him if he wanted the large, the small, and he ordered the large, and they brought it out, and his eyes got big. This giant tortillas. So yeah, the Harlingen is one that Coach Gomez says he would fly me out every year. But there's some, I'm kind of the Grim Reaper for a few guys, because there's a few guys that are winless when I show up, and so they're like, I don't want to see you at any of my games. So just kind of, it's all in good fun. But yeah, I mean, I would say Abilene and Fossil Ridge just for the family ties, just to keep that. I don't want anybody saying Stepp hates us, that kind of thing, because I don't. I do have a favorite team, and I'm not shy to say I do follow the Everman Bulldogs, and I want them to win. But other than that, I really don't care. I just want to see a good game. I just don't want to go to a game and have it be 60-0. That's my thing. I just don't want to blow out.
Those are the worst.
Though that's I guess the only good thing about going to a 60-0 blowout game is that at least it's over quick. You can it's end fairly quickly because the suffering ends. But I don't like to go to. I want to go to a good game that's competitive, and now because those are the ones that I remember. We were talking about some of the best state championship games that we've seen. We were talking about that in our Slack chat, and I'll sometimes every 3 or 4 years do a list of the best 10 games that I've ever seen in person. It's got to be in person, and I'll do that occasionally and just kind of relive that. And I love to be able to add games to that list, and so those are the best when they can add a game to my top 10 list and kick somebody out that probably doesn't deserve to be kicked out. And at some point, I may have to do a top 20 list because the list is getting too long.
No, and you've seen almost 900 football games? You said.
I don't even. I know I've seen. Hang on, I'll tell you right now. I have a spreadsheet. I've been to. It's 290 stadiums, and actually only 739 Texas high school football teams. So I'm hoping maybe I'll get to 800 this year. But a lot of you start getting too far into it, you just don't pick up a lot of new teams because you've seen them so much. But yeah, I got to start going to some outlying areas to add new schools to the list. But yeah, I mean, I can't tell you. I've probably been in the course of my life, even prior to being a journalist, I bet I've been to over 1,000 Texas high school football games because, I mean, I'll see 75 games in a year, and I've been doing this 20 years.
Does that count like state championship games?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll catch about 70. The COVID year, the only good thing about the COVID year was that they staggered the season. I think I saw like almost 100 games that year. Because they were having games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There was one week I had a game Monday, Tuesday. I had 6 games in a week. I had a game Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So, that of all the bad that happened in 2020, that was like the one, I guess, silver lining in that year for me. But yeah,
you have to watch 100 high school football games.
Yeah, I think I saw 100 games that year in person. So, I think I've probably been to, counting all the times as a kid, and then even before I became a journalist, I was going to 2 or 3 games a week. Just locally, I'd go to a Thursday. I'd show up at a random Saturday game in Fort Worth ISD or Dallas ISD and just show up. So, I bet I've been to 1,000 games by now. So
that's great.
I could probably do a top 50 list for sure of best playoff games. Regular season games get a little jumbled because, I've been to some great Week 6 games, but I can't remember. But playoff games, I can go through and tell you some really good playoff games that I've been to.
Yeah. By any chance, did you get to cover that Lufkin and Plano West game in Waco?
No, I have. There's only been I think I've only been to 2 Lufkin games in my entire life. I would have loved to have gone like the famous Lufkin South Lake games. Now I've watched Lufkin on TV a few times. Like they played Longview on Valley Southwest. When they won the state championship, I remember watching that game with Reggie McNeil. The only Lufkin game, I've been to one Lufkin game at Abe Martin, and I remember they played Mesquite High. Ironically, Lufkin alum Ralph Thomas is the head coach of Mesquite High. They played Mesquite. They were both in a 16 district, so it was Week 5. They didn't have anybody else to play, so they said we'll play. And somehow, I guess Mesquite requested that the game be on Saturday, and it was a Saturday afternoon, and I drove down to Abe Martin and watched Lufkin and Mesquite play. And so
that had to have been like 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, it was a while ago. It was a while back. It was a non-district game between Lufkin.
That was a long time ago.
Lufkin and Mesquite, and I remember it because I spent the night because I played basketball in junior college at Trinity Valley in Athens, and the best way to get from Fort Worth to Lufkin, that at least back then, was to go 175 down to Jacksonville and then hit 69 and go down to Lufkin. And so I spent the night in Athens at a buddy's house, and so so that was that's the only time I've been to a Lufkin game. I think I've been to a Lufkin playoff game in the Metroplex at one point as well. But yeah, need to get some more Lufkin football.
Well, we're glad to hear that you do, come out and watch us. We need you back in Lufkin watching some more football. But I'm not going to sit here and just talk about Lufkin the whole time, which I'd love to do that because that is my team of choice. You can obviously tell in the top right corner right there. But if you had to say, Matt, who are some teams to watch out for this year?
I mean, you got the usual suspects, right? Like, your South Lake Carroll's #1 in our magazine in 6A.
Is that because they returned so many?
Oh yeah, I mean, you play for a state championship and you bring that many guys back, you're going to get the computer's going to love you. You know, the computer. So the you know, we use Jerry Forrest from Pigskin Prep. He does our preseason rankings, and the computer algorithm loves teams that have a lot of success and bring a lot of guys back. Obviously, right? So Southlake meets that criteria really well. So there's those teams. I like to try, and I'm working on that article now for August. It's called our hipster picks. And these are kind of the teams that aren't ranked that I think have a chance to have a really good season. And I could maybe they're not state championship caliber teams, but they're teams that can maybe go to the third round or the fourth round, kind of surprise teams. I like to find those teams. I think everybody knows who the really, I could look at 5A Division I and tell you right now, okay, Denton Ryan, Aledo, Highland Park, Smithson Valley, LaPorte, Frisco Lone Star, Angleton, those are the teams to beat. Those are the top 10 teams. Those are the teams to beat. But who's that team that nobody's talking about that maybe could have a great year and fly under the radar? I like to try to find those teams. Like I think in 5A Division II, we saw them in Tyler. I think Amarillo Paladuro is going to be a really good team this year.
They got some guys.
I mean, they got a DB that just committed to North Carolina. They got another guy.
He's quarterback too, right?
No, that's the other kid, the quarterback.
Okay, that's the other kid. Because I remember one of the kids saying when they were shaking hands with Longy, they were going back and forth. He's like, that's North Carolina right there.
Yeah, they got some dudes. Amarillo Paladuro is going to be a problem this year out in West Texas in 5A Division II. So nobody's going to have them ranked in the state rankings. They're going to be really good this year. I like to try to find those teams.
They might have one of the best secondaries in 5A Division II.
Yeah, they're going to be really good.
They bought some guys from to Tyler. I don't know if they had anybody else left, but especially I forgot the kid's name, the receiver. He could go.
Kyron Brown, Kyron Brown.
He can go. Mm-hmm. They're not ranked.
No, they're not ranked in the top 25.
They got my magazine yet, by the way. So I'm like, I have the digital one.
Okay.
My magazine in the mail as it came. So I'm like having to scroll at zoom in and like make an article so I can read it good and everything. So
I appreciate you being a subscriber. We need to, if you don't get it by next week, let me know. The U.S. Postal Service, there's people that I got an email today from a guy in Corpus Christi who got his magazine. So
it's like everybody's like on Twitter today posting their magazine. Okay, mine's coming today. So I get back from lunch today, no magazine. So I actually told somebody at work because I told you I was leaving for the rest of the week tomorrow, and I was like, if I get any mail, take it home with you because she's my neighbor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if my magazine's in, I know what I'm doing Sunday when I get back off this trip.
Well, are you flying out of Dallas or Houston?
Houston.
No, so you're flying out of Dallas. Just come by the office and you can get one.
I'll be flying out of Houston. Dallas is probably like an hour and 30 longer than driving to Houston. So we're going to fly to Bush.
There you go. And Bush is on the north side of Houston too. So
yeah, it's an easy shot up 59 and, coming home, it's, a straight shot.
I got one extra copy in my truck. It's Chakotay Coleman's copy from Mansfield Timberview. If you came up, I just give you Chakoty's copy. He'd be mad at me.
We might have to make that work,
Yeah, I don't want no smoke with Chakotay Coleman. He played defensive line at Iowa, and Beaumont Westbrook guy. I don't want any smoke.
I bet you he still can go.
He told me he's good. He got a couple plays left in him before his hamstrings might pop on him, but he says he's got a couple of plays left in him. So, but yeah, his magazine's in my truck. I told him to come by my job and get it, but he too busy. He just had a baby, so he got to pass his wife.
That's the best time to have a magazine. And
that's what I told him. I said, you need to come up here and that when the baby's taking a nap, you can read the magazine. So exactly. I'm sure he'll come and get it from me eventually. So, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think like I'll tell you a team that I'm really watching. They're ranked, but I don't think a lot of people are talking about them in 3A. I think Troop is going to be really good this year. I think they have a chance to win the region. Like. Everybody talks about Dangerfield and Newton in Region 3, and I think Troop is going to be a real fun team to watch this year. And I think, if you look, another team, so that's kind of my thing is I want to find those teams that
those underdogs,
those under the radar teams. And then if I hit it. There was one year that we didn't have Post out in West Texas ranked in the preseason rankings at all. And I had them listed as a hipster pick, and I said, this team has a chance to make it to AT&T Stadium. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? This team is not ranked. And they went 15-1 and lost in the state championship game to Shiner that year. So those are the ones that I try to find those teams. I think everybody can kind of pick out the big dogs, but I want to try to find those sleeper West Mesquite, Steven Jackson. You had him on not long ago. Last year, I kept telling everyone, man, West Mesquite's going to be really good, y'all. Jack.
And they return a lot of those kids.
Oh yeah, they're not under the radar. I talked to Jack yesterday. I was like, I'm sorry, we ranked in the state this year. You can't fly. You had too good of a year last year. You can't fly under the radar anymore. So, but last year I was telling everyone, don't sleep on West Mesquite. They're going to be really good. And they went 11-1, and so I was like, all right, that's a win. I patted myself on the back for that one. So, try to find those sleeper teams and keep an eye on them in the year. But I mean, obviously, you could pick out any number of the big names in 6A and 5A, and what kind of limb am I going out on to tell everyone Carthage is going to be really good? Well, breaking news: Carthage is going to be really good. And yes, they are going to be really good. But
Jets are at senior year.
Yeah, and I think he's got all kind. KJ Edwards, and he got the big receiver that just committed to Arkansas. They get those 2 unbelievable linebackers. Carthage is loaded. So breaking news.
Yeah,
water's wet.
It's like you said, Southlake, North Crowley, DeSoto, Duncanville, Smithson Valley, Aledo, all those schools, they're going to be what they're ranked to be.
There's a reason, even in 5A, South Oak Cliff, they played in South Oak Cliff. Like those brand names, but there's a reason why they win. And it's the pedigree, the tradition, and winning breeds winning, and winning breeds confidence, and the buy-in and the standard and all those things, those buzzwords that coaches use, but it's all true. There's a reason why Aledo has been winning for 20 plus years. And obviously they have great football players, but they also have great administration. They have a great community. They have a supportive, community that supports their football team, their coaches, and they have administration that puts their coaches in positions to win. And then you have the talent, and that's why you win for so long. You can have a great class come through and win for a year or two, and then you kind of fall back to being mediocre. But to win 10, 15, 20 years, there has to be all those things have to be aligned. And that's why you see Carthage, the run that they're on right now, because everything's lined up and aligned, and that's why Longview's been winning like they have been for so long. It's all lined up, and
we don't talk about them.
I know. It's all, as soon as I said Longview, you gave me that look,
We don't talk about them.
Yeah.
August the 29th. It's on my calendar. It's circled. I got it on the whiteboard at work. We will be headed to Longview. We will be headed to Longview this year. Stadium.
Okay.
We opened the season up at Longview. In Longview.
It's up there this year. Okay.
Yes. We're going.
I found a great
Coach King's new lights. We're going to see the new.
They're going to have the wolf howls go on. They're going. I went to Longview I went out to Kilgore for 7-on-7. I spent the night in Longview, and I found this really good burger spot. And I texted King, and I said,
"Is it Juicy's?"
No. I know Juicy's. That's a chain. There's a place called the Butcher Shop, and it's really good. And I texted Coach King, and I said, "Man, why didn't you tell me about this place?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, South Oak Cliff ate there." He goes, they ate there before they played us this year. He goes, now they're not allowed back because they beat us this year. So tell Jason he's not allowed back there.
That was another good game.
It was a great game. I think we had that one online. I know I watched it online. So yeah, it's and it'll be a great game this year when Longview has to play South Oak Cliff in Dallas this year. So it'll be a great game.
Well, hopefully we can hopefully we'll beat up on them enough and slow them down before they get up there.
There you go. So yeah, Lufkin and the Lufkin Longview, games are all when they're like, I know this game didn't end the way you wanted it to end, but that game at SFA in the quarterfinals a few years ago I wasn't at that game, but Jason Todd was at that game. I know you didn't want to ask him about it, but Jason Todd told me he was at that game, and he said
he mentioned it.
One of the best football games he's ever seen, in person, and the atmosphere and
that. I was going to say that was Texas high school football.
Oh yeah,
we showed. I drove back from College Station that morning to that, and I remember getting there, and I got there probably an hour and a half, 2 hours from kickoff, and the parking lot was just covered with fans tailgating, hanging out, and then you walk in, the grass area is covered. Like, you don't even want to stand in line to get a drink because the concession stand lines are so long.
You probably lose your spot too. Yeah. I would. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you this: if Longview and Lufkin ever play again in the playoffs, I won't miss it.
Stepp will be there.
I will not miss it. That's one of those. Now I still kick myself for. I don't know. I don't remember what game I was at. I'm sure it was a fourth round. There's not a lot of bad fourth round playoff games going on. And sometimes I become a value shopper in the playoffs. Tepper likes to call me a value shopper because, like on Saturday, I may not like Longview Lufkin was probably the best game of that weekend, but it was the only game that weekend in Nacogdoches. But if I could go to the Alamo Dome and see 3 games, I'll probably do that because I like to value shop and see as many games as possible. So sometimes people ask me, why'd you pick that game? Why'd you go to that game? There's usually some kind of method to my madness.
What do you think about LaPorte's new stadium? I know you haven't been there yet, and you're trying to get there this year, but
week three.
Yeah,
I'll break that news. I haven't released my schedule yet, but my schedule said I will break the news here. Week 3, Friday night, I will be at LaPorte for P&G in LaPorte.
Is that a step bomb?
Yeah, that's a step. Well, yeah, that's a step. A minor step bomb, But
okay, a minor.
I got a big step bomb coming Thursday. Big coaching change coming Thursday.
Is it Metroplex?
DFW, a big hire in the Metroplex. So I'll tease that one out Thursday morning.
It's got to be Chisholm Trails.
It's Chisholm Trail. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be.
So I got Thursday. It's coming out. So just keep an eye.
We'll be looking for it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, LaPorte Stadium looks awesome. I can't wait to see it. It looks like it's an amazing facility. They needed it. Their stadium was kind of falling up. Their stadium's right there on the bay, and so that salt water, like, it kind of eats away at the concrete. And so their stadium LaPorte hasn't played a home game in 2 years.
Yeah. Well, you built a $56 million stadium. I'm sure it took a while.
Yeah, because they had, because it's so close to the water, they have to lay all those drainage, and you have to get the foundation of it right. So, because of the water table, and I'm not a construction guy, but I mean, just common sense will tell you, being so close to the bay, there's a little bit more. There's a few more hoops you got to jump through that's where their school is, and that there's not a lot of room there, so you got to kind of make it fit in the space that you got. And so it's taken them 2 years, and I know Coach Bernithi and those guys are real excited that this facility is open. I think they played their spring game there this year.
Yeah.
And so I know they're super excited. So I texted Coach Bernithi and told him I was going to be in the house for that game. And so, yeah, so I'm excited. I can't wait to see that stadium. It's
going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Stepp, if you had to say, who are some coaches under the radar this year that can make a run?
I'll talk about Troop, Coach Sam Wells at Troop, and I think obviously Eric Mims there at Paladuro does a great job. Another guy that's doing some great things is Tyrone Carter there at Cy Lakes. Cy Lakes has never made the playoffs in school history, ever. Now, they haven't been around that long, 2010, but they're in that Cy Fair district with Cy Ranch and Bridgeland. I think Cy Lakes could be a team that breaks through this year and gets into the playoffs. They were 5-5 last year, had lost a lot of close games. They bring back, I think, 15 starters. Their JV was 6-4. They had a ton of success in 7-on-7 this year. Went to the state tournament. So that winning kind of builds that momentum that they've got going on. And I think there's a belief at Cy Lakes that they can get into the playoffs this year. I'm not saying they're going to win the district, but I think for them, getting fourth place would be huge for that program. So I think they're a team to watch out for. I think the new guy at Waco High is doing Esmer Martinez is going to do a heck of a job. Down in Southeast Texas, I love what Josh Smalley's doing at Bridge City, kind of getting that program turned around. I think they're going to be a really fun team to watch this year. Up around Texoma, Whitesboro, Cody Fagan. They kind of had a bad year not a bad year. They were 6-5, and for them, that's a down year. I think Whitesboro in 3AD1 is going to pop back up and have a huge year. They bring back 20 starters. All 11 guys on offense are back. 9 on defense. I think Whitesboro is going to have a great year this year. So there's a lot of those kind of under the radar teams that you're not thinking about that are going to do some good things this year. And I know, it's with new coaches, it's hard to tell because sometimes it can be really good in year one, and sometimes it can be a struggle in year one just to kind of get things going again. And I think you also have to kind of look at the program and just kind of see where they are, because everyone's bar of success is not the same. If you're taking over a program that's been 0-10, 1-9 for the past 3 or 4 years, going 4-6 in year one is a great year. Now, to the novice football person, they're going to say, oh, that guy was 4-6. He didn't do a very good job. But I've had plenty of coaches tell me that their best coaching jobs are when they went 5-5 and 4-6 because they just didn't have the talent. And so I think everybody's bar is a little bit different because this is where your program is at that point.
Now, and like you say, people have to understand, you get a new coach in, turning a program around. It's not just I get here, early in the year and we're going to start winning immediately. It doesn't work like that. Everybody wants to be like that, but it takes time. You got to build. You got to get your, like Blaylock said yesterday, I like what he said. You look at their season they had last year. Look when he got to Cy Ranch. Imagine if he could have got there, 4 or 5 months earlier.
Well, and they also had somebody in administration, I don't know who it was, made the decision that year to have spring football. They knew they were changed. They went through spring football without having a coach hired, and to me that was a mistake because you've basically, and Coach Blaylock would never admit it because he's just too good of a competitor and he would never admit it. But I'll say it: they did him a disservice because he was basically starting his first year with one hand tied behind his back because they had already gone through spring football. So now he doesn't get that second scrimmage or that extra week to implement what he wants to do in his program. So really for them, this year was their first full off season. And so depending on the timing of the hire too, if a guy gets hired in January, February, that's fine. He can get the expectations and the standards built and developed. But you get hired in May or June, or like RT, when he got to Yates, I think he got hired, like 2 days before coaching school. Like, the season's starting in 2 weeks. You're not going to be able to do a whole lot with that. So everybody's starting out on different levels, and you just have to kind of take that into account when you're evaluating. At least I try to when I'm evaluating, did this guy do a good job or not? It's hard. You don't know. And then, there's battles that some guys fight that I have no idea about, depending on, it could be something as simple as, well, my coordinators, they're having to teach classes during the athletic period, or in some places the head coach teaches. Like
Yates.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not alma mater at Everman right now. The head football coach, he teaches 2 math classes. It's hard to be successful when you're the head coach and you're having to teach 2 math classes. And those guys have the hearts of teachers, but when you are the head coach of the football team, it's a little bit different. You being in the classroom puts you at a distinct disadvantage because
it's like what you said earlier.
Your peers are not in the classroom.
Yeah, it's like what you said earlier. The Lidos, all those schools, they win a lot. They have great players. They have great coaches, but administration is key.
You win with good administration, and there's state championship administrations, and there's not state championship administrations, and so that's there's a common thread with a lot of the teams. That you look at North Crowley. Crowley ISD in football. Before North Crowley opened, it was just Crowley, and has never, other than 1 year, North Crowley kind of had a magical run. In 2003, when they won a state championship, they were third in district and kind of got hot and caught Texas High. Texas High won the state championship the year before, and they were the huge favorite. And their quarterback got in trouble, literally on the bus to the stadium, got pulled off the bus, and they had to start a freshman in that state semifinal game. That freshman was named Ryan Mallett. And North Crowley beat Texas High like 14-10 or something and ended up winning the state championship. Other than that 1 year, Crowley has never had any kind of success in football, but they get a new superintendent hired in 2022, 2021, and look what's happened over there.
It's been great.
New stadium, their stadium is amazing. They've got indoor facilities at both campuses. They're getting an indoor track facility. Like, they're getting an indoor track stadium at Crowley. Like, they're gonna have an indoor track stadium. Like, the administration, the community has bought in. They passed the bonds. They've done those things for those facility upgrades. And now everybody wants to be in Crowley, because what they built. So you win with the administration.
It'd be nice to get that done in the Piney Woods.
Hey, if somehow Lufkin got a bond passed and some updates to beautiful Abe Martin Stadium happen, you'll most likely get Matt Stepp in the house. I don't know if that might not be a way to get the bond passed, but if it did, I'd probably show up.
But we got to get that press box for you. That's main.
And I don't want to sound like I'm bougie or anything, right? Like I've been to some small stadiums and been fine, but I just need a place to work. and Lufkin Stadium, it's just there's nowhere to work for me. And I don't want to knock out local media that's there every week, And so there's just not a lot of room for the media outside of maybe the radio broadcast and maybe the newspaper, the local newspaper guy, and those guys are there every week. I don't want to push them out from, where they're sitting. So,
make a little room for Stepp too.
Nah, if they could, but I mean, it's hard to. There's not a lot of room up there, So, maybe one of these days. So I'd love to get out to Lufkin. It's been too long.
I got a question I want to ask you. You look at the, Houston, Dallas. Everybody talks about Houston football, Dallas football. You look at the district like Mesquite, Lancaster, Cedar Hill, DeSoto, North Crowley, Duncanville. I mean, not North Crowley, Duncanville, all in that one district. And then you look at North Shore, Summer Creek, Kingwood, Atascocita, all in one district. Who are you taking? Who has the hardest road?
And they're
I'm
both
sorry.
really,
Are those the two hardest districts in the state to you?
pound for pound, the best district in Texas to me is District 7-4A Division 1. That's the district with Salina, Frisco Panther Creek, Sulphur Springs, Aubrey, Paris, Lake Dallas. Like Lake Dallas, this is how hard that district was. Lake Dallas in 2023 was in 5A, and they went 10-2. They go down to 4A. Oh, we're moving down to 4A. This is going to be easy. We were 10-2 last year in 5A. They dropped down to 4A, and they go 4-6 and finish 6th in that district. Like that district, to me, pound for pound, you could put Lake Dallas in a lot of other 4A districts, and they win that district. They were 6th in their district. Like that's how good that district is. Obviously, the 11-6A and 22, I think it's 22-6A right now, or 23-6A down in Houston are great districts. But I think pound for pound, 7-4A Division 1 is the best district in Texas, top to bottom.
And I agree with you on that. But, you look at DeSoto, Duncanville, Lancaster, Cedar Hill. I think Cedar Hill's in that district too, right?
They are. They were down last year. They struggled last year.
Yeah. And it's like you go to Houston, you have Atascocita, North Shore, Summer Creek, all in one district.
Yeah. They're top heavy. They're very top heavy districts.
Yes.
I like to look at districts that have depth where anybody can beat anybody on any given night. Those, in that Houston district, like all due respect to, some of the teams at the bottom of that district, but they're not touching the top teams in that district. It's going to be a 40 or 50 point blowout, most likely, So, Channelview, God bless Channelview, but Channelview ain't beating North Shore or Atascocita, right?
No.
So I like the district.
Creek Memorial.
Yeah, the Goose Creek Memorial. So those are the districts they're top heavy. They're great districts at the top, but there's not week in and week out a great. I like the districts that are deep and that anybody could beat anybody on any given.
Look at like a school like Humble. They qualify for state in 7-on-7. Shout out to Robert Murphy and what he's doing over there, but that's just a bloodbath.
Yeah, and Humble is probably like that district because Kingwood finished 4th and went to the 4th round last year.
That shows you.
Humble was a pretty good team last year, but they were 5th. It's just kind of like, this is tough to get out. So, but yeah, and 11-6A I don't think has the depth. The teams in 11-6A haven't been as strong top to bottom. In 11-6A recently. Hopefully, it gets a little better. But Mesquite Horn's got a new coach. Mesquite's got a new coach. Skyline's got a new coach. So there's a lot of change in 11-6A this year. But
we forgot C.E. King. That's another school.
Yeah, C.E. King missed the playoffs last year.
Hey, I was gonna, I want to ask you one last question. I'll let you go. I know we've been on here for almost an hour, but is there a district that sticks out to you that like there's a team out there that can make it, make a step bomb in that district?
Like a team that
a team that hasn't been there consistently, but
sure.
They might be their year this year.
Yeah, there's always a few. I would say one team that I'm looking at, they were pretty good last year. They're in Region 4 in 3A Division 1. I'd say watch out for the Goliad Tigers. They were 10-3 last year, but no one really took them very seriously. They're in the same district with Edna, who's won the region 3 years in a row. Edna will still be good, but I think Goliad they got a kid named Lamont Franklin who averaged like 26 yards a touch last year or something crazy. And I'm like, man, I'm not a smart guy, but I'm going to get the ball to that Franklin kid because he's getting 26 a touch. I'm going to get the ball in his hands. He's really special. They got a good team. I think Goliad is a team that could kind of shock the world and win Region 4 down there in 3A Division 1 this year. So that's kind of one that nobody's talking a lot about that I think could make a little noise.
Well, if you say it, like you say, when you were writing on those forms, that guy told you. I'm not going to say.
Funny, when you make predictions, they only remember the ones you get wrong. No one, when that's why we kind of laugh about disrespect season because people will post the pictures of us picking them 6th in district, and if they don't finish 6th, they'll be quick to tell us when they finish 6th. But they finish 2nd or 3rd or something. Hey, we proved Dave Campbell's wrong. But it's funny, the teams that we picked 6th and they actually finished 6th, no one tells us about those. So
they don't want to holler at you.
No, they want to tell me. I'm like, keep the same energy. Like, tell me how, let me know I'm right sometimes, So it's all good though. It's part of it. So that's why I just say this, just acknowledge me when I'm right every once in a while, and that's all I ask. I don't think it's too much to ask.
Name one last question for you. In the next 5 years, off the top of your head, name a coach that you think will build a program into a state contender that people may not know of.
Oh, dude. You're hitting me with some good ones here. I don't know if people don't know about him. I think they do, but I really think I'll say this. I'll say keep an eye on Nick Caduti at Klein. That dude is a ball coaching jack. He did amazing things at Fulshire. He's hard to prepare for because of the way they run their offense and their scheme. He's a wild man. He onside kicks. He doesn't punt. He'll go for 2. He doesn't. He is anti-kicker apparently because Nick Caduti will let it all. He'll let him hang if you know what I mean. He all out, and he's got a lot of talent at Klein. They have a really good team. Don't be surprised if in a couple of years we're talking about Klein as in the same breath as like Spring Westfield a few years ago or the Woodlands, as a top 15, top 10 consistent 6A football team. I think that highly of Caduti.
I like that.
He's an Eagles fan, so his judgment's a little questionable, but I guess he's kind of got me right now because the Eagles did win the Super Bowl. But other than him being an Eagles fan, I love the guy.
Last weekend, there's no ball on. So 2 weekends ago, I turned on, Atascocita and Fulshire. And if you know Texas high school football, Atascocita is probably one of the best track programs also.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And those kids play football. It translates from the football field to the track, the track to the football field easily. Oh, yeah. And what Caduti did, lining up in that wing tee.
Wide zone.
Wide zone all game long. And then I like how he ran that bootleg with the quarterback to the big guy, the big running back with the hair.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the guy just gets a beeline. He's down the sideline.
Yeah, yeah. And people don't realize Caduti, when he was in Missouri as a head coach, he had some offenses that would throw it around. When he has an offense that can throw, he'll throw it, and he'll have that kind of personnel at Klein. But you can guarantee you one thing. You talk Longview. Longview is going to get in the I formation and run power. Klein is going to get in.
Do we know that though? Do we know that?
Yes.
The new OC. We see that. We see all the little
John King
spurts out there.
John King's still the head coach. He's going to run power. Here's a funny story about John King. I know he's a Longview guy, but this is the year they had Jalen Hale. They went to state 7-on-7, and so we go over there to watch Longview. Longview's playing Lubbock Coronado. My buddy DJ Mann at Coronado, who's now on staff at Texas A&M. And they had a really good team that year, too. Well, the first play, Jalen Hale goes 45 yards, touchdown. And so I pick up the phone, and I'm over there at the Longview coaches, and I'm like, where's Coach King? Like, where, and they're like, oh, he's out in Louisiana. He's fishing on a lake. So I call King, and I was like, hey, man, where are you at? Why aren't you out here at 7-on-7 hanging out with us in College Station? He goes, oh, I'm on the lake fishing, blah, blah, blah. And I said, are you mad that in 7-on-7 they won't let you run power? And he just dead quips goes, it would work. And then I was like, well, you're right, coach, it would work. So John King is an American treasure, and I love the guy and have a lot of respect for him and what he's done at Longview, but I know you guys at Lufkin want to kick their ass, so I get it. That's what makes Texas high school football great, those rivalries. And I'll tell you this, though, he might not admit it, but the level of respect that he has for Lufkin is
it's off the charts.
Yeah. And I know y'all won't admit it at Lufkin, but I feel like there's a begrudging level of respect from y'all.
It's a mutual respect.
It's what makes it a great rivalry. It's what makes it one of the, there's a respect, but you also want to kick each other's ass.
Nothing would be better than us playing each other like we do, non-district, and us beating them, and us both having a successful playoff run.
If Lufkin and Longview were at the state championship games at AT&T Stadium together,
that might be the most. We might have to sit together because we're going to want to watch them play.
I might not sit in the press box. I might sit in the stands with y'all. Me and my boy Gabe Brooks from Carthage and Mike Roach, we might just exit the press box and go sit with the Lufkin and Longview people and have a party because it would be among the most fun things. It would be a
show.
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun.
Could you imagine catching Lufkin and Longview in a state championship game?
And y'all all stay and watch each other. Y'all would.
Yeah.
On the Longview side, it'd be green and purple. And then when Lufkin played, it'd be green and purple on the Lufkin side.
And I hate to say this, but I would honestly pull for Longview.
Yeah, East Texas is like that though. Like when you get an East Texas team in the state championship, for the most part. Now I don't know if there are some rivalries that you just can't root for the other guy. Like I don't. Would anyone from Nacogdoches root for Lufkin?
No.
So, yeah. So and like my buddy Gabe Brooks is a Carthage guy. I can guarantee you, if Henderson ever played in a state championship game, Gabe Brooks would not root for Henderson. But for the most part, if it's an East Texas team, East Texas they're gonna get behind that team and pull for them.
Yeah, that's basic. You know, I will not say this because I do have a spot in my heart for this team, and I know it's hard to understand that when I am from Lufkin, but that's like saying Lufkin root for South Lake Carroll.
Yeah,
like it ain't gonna happen.
No, you can't root for South. They're not from East Texas.
No, it's just built off the fact of how bad our season has ended because of South Lake Carroll.
Yeah.
2 years in a row.
Those games at Waco ISD are legendary. Those are legendary football games. And
even the ones in Nacogdoches.
Did y'all play? I remember the one at Waco ISD.
Yeah, we played them in SFA.
Yeah, so yeah, those are some good memories. So yeah, and hopefully there's some more good memories this coming season. I can't wait for the season to kick off. I'll be posting my schedule here after coaching school, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the coaches at coaching school, and we'll have a lot of fun. There's a lot of work during the day, and then a lot of fun in the evening. We have a good time in San Antonio.
Well, one thing I will say, Stepp, and I hope my boss is listening, I'm going to try my hardest to make it to San Antonio. It's a busy month for me, so me taking off any more than I've already took off is going to be kind of hard.
Hey, come down on Sunday.
Well, I'd have to make a drive home Sunday.
You would. I'm just saying, you do have that option.
I'm not that kind of person. Like if I get to San Antonio, I'm going to want to go to socials.
Oh, I trust me. I'm like that too. Especially when I was younger, I could do the down and back. I tell my wife now, like I make too much money. I've worked hard. If it's more than 3 hours, I'm putting my old butt in the room and I'm gonna get some air conditioning on and and go to sleep. I'll drive back the next day.
I might be able to work something out and make that happen. I don't know if my boss was probably not watching anymore. He probably watched the first 5 minutes and was like, all right, this is enough football talk for him. Yeah. But I'm going to try my best to make that happen because actually for what I do in business, it would be great networking.
There you go. I'll say this, it's a lot of fun. Coaching school is a lot, and you can do a whole lot of networking. I can tell you, you're going to be shaking a lot of hands and exchanging a lot of business cards.
Maybe when I hand them a Live from the Pines card, I'll just hand them my insurance card too.
There you go.
It's a win-win. Coaches move every year. They need houses.
There you go.
Hey, Matt, I thank you for coming on Live from the Pines, man. It means a lot to us. We're trying to grow the show and grow our name in the Texas high school football coaching world and, all around the Texas high school football world. I shouldn't even just say coaching. We thank you for, taking the time out of your day to come on here and, talk ball with me. And, I think it's going to be a great 2025 season for a lot of schools, not just including Lufkin. I think a lot of schools are going to make some noise this year. I'm definitely ready to see what Lufkin brings to the table under new head coach Carl Apsek. So that's going to be huge. I can't wait to see that. August 29th, we'll be in Longview ready to, get it going.
Go. And, go eat at the butcher shop. Go. Trust me. Go eat at the butcher shop.
I'm going to need something that has a stiff drink.
I don't know if they serve alcohol or not.
I'm going to need a stiff drink before that game. So
there you go.
I might make it to the butcher shop. If I do, I'll make sure to let you know.
Go. Here's the pro tip. I'm assuming you're a married man. You're a family man.
I'm 26.
Jeez, you guys are so young. I'm about to say if you were married, butcher shop has great desserts. I would say go there and get your lady some dessert. You'll be a winner.
Well, you never know. A lot can change in a few weeks.
Hey, that's right. So, man, yeah. So, this pro tip, for anybody watching, if you're in Longview, your lady, my wife loves sweets, so I go to butcher shop. I'm gonna bring her a piece of cake or something, and we're all right.
She'll appreciate that.
Yeah.
Stepp, you have a great 2025 season. Safe travels this year. Hopefully, we get you back on the show.
Anytime.
If I get to make it to San Antonio, I'll make sure to let you know. We'll catch you up for sure.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you again, Matt Stepp, Dave Campbell, Texas High School Football, for taking the time and doing this. If you haven't yet, go subscribe to Dave Campbell Football online. I think it's an all-access membership. You get the digital copy of the college football, high school football, and you get a paper copy. I think it's $49 right now.
And you get access to all the online games.
All the online games.
Not just football either. You can watch all sports. You get access to Tepp and Stepp podcast, which we post it for subscribers. You get access to all the archives of the magazine. You want to go back and look. I love going back. I went back and looked at the 1960 Dave Campbell's magazine. They got beer ads in there. The phone numbers are like 5 digits. I'm like, this is crazy. Like I like to look at old magazines and stuff like that. You get access to our rankings, the one to every team we rank in the state. So we got a lot. There's a lot that goes with that. And you get the recruiting magazine in the fall too. We do Texas Football Rising magazine. You get the recruiting magazine as well. So, I feel like it's a good value for the subscription. And in this digital world, we try to, give everybody good value. So that's the biggest thing. And then the biggest thing at the magazine, we want to make Mr. Campbell proud. We want to put a product out that Mr. Campbell would be proud of. God rest his soul. He was with us till he was almost 100 years old, and he would still go to coaching school till the very end. And so we try to put a product out that he would appreciate and do him proud. And so we really try to live by that. We're not always right. We're not perfect, but I can promise you that the intent and the effort that we go into to make that a great product is there.
That's great, Stepp. And y'all keep doing what y'all are doing, man. I know the Texas high school football world really appreciates it. All sports appreciate what you guys do. I know that, one thing I did for a couple weeks is the first thing I actually had your notifications pinned. I was just waiting for that Stepp bomb to drop. But, we do appreciate everything you do. And one day we hope Live from the Pines can, get set up at coaching school and have you on there, baby.
Absolutely. Yep. Let's make it happen. So appreciate it. Hopefully run into each other again during the season.
All right, man. Good to hear from you.